Of all the reform movements in the first half of the 19th century, the most important and the most divisive was anti-slavery, abolitionism, the move to eradicate slavery from American life.
But masters desiring to free their slaves faced a real problem, for few white Americans believed that the races could live together. What then should be the fate of freed slaves?
In the 1820s, the American Colonization Society took the position, had long taken the position, that the solution to the so-called race problem of the day was to collect African Americans together and ship them back to their homeland in Africa.
They bought a tract of land, now called Liberia, and named its capital Monrovia, after President Monroe. Fewer than 15,000 African Americans actually went to Liberia. Others went to Haiti, but colonization was clearly not the answer. In 1831, William Lloyd Garrison began publishing The Liberator, which called for an immediate end to slavery. Uncompromising in his opposition to slavery, Garrison once burned the Constitution.
William Lloyd Garrison, a Boston abolitionist, called the Constitution a covenant with death, an agreement with hell. That tells you something about the strong language that he would describe the Constitution, which protected slavery, in those terms. So it was very divisive, but of course it was very important, because until slavery was eradicated, there would never be peace in America.
Men and women who had lived in slavery, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Frederick Douglass, proved to be some of the most effective abolitionists. Harriet Tubman carried a $40,000 bounty on her head for leading slaves north to freedom through the Underground Railroad.
Harriet Tubman had been born into slavery. She was married to a man who was not a slave. She wanted to leave the territory. She wanted her own freedom. And she couldn't convince him to go with her. And she went anyway. And she wound up crossing the state line by herself, having left him behind, completely on her own. At the same time, feeling that she had been, in a sense, reborn by now being a free person and being determined to do what she could to free first her family and then whoever else she could bring out. And she went back to the South over and over again, putting herself in danger of being recaptured.
In so many areas, Americans, men and women, blacks and whites, appeared to be moving toward the ideals the nation was founded on: the essential dignity and equality of all human beings, and the inalienable rights to freedom, justice, and opportunity. The flurry of reform activity changed life for many Americans, but heaven never came to earth. The struggle over slavery would split the nation in two and bring America to war.